Quindim is a pudding made by yolks and coconut. Pão de queijo is one of the most famous Brazilian delight. It's a cheese bread, something you have to try at least once in your life. Both of them are Pesach dishes for Brazilian Jews. Dish bishti is a Turkish almond cake, exotic and delicious, that is part of Sephardic tradition for Rosh Hashanah and Pesach. Pierogi, a traditional Russian and Polish potato dumpling that was incorporated into our tradition and we know as varenikis. And it is from that part of the world that Jews inherited gefilte fish, which, upon arriving in this beloved island, was shaped into small balls and deep fried, giving birth to the unique fish balls. Actually, British Jews have their own tradition, as wishing for a long life for the bereaved, something that sounds amazingly strange for people like me who are learning local traditions. Today is 7 of Reshvan, a date chosen in an initiative by the Reform Movement in Israel with the Israeli government to mark Diaspora Israel Day, a worldwide festival of Jewish peoplehood to celebrate relationships among the Jews in each place where they settled and between these places and the land of Israel. A day to celebrate the complex and rich dialogue that has been maintained between all Jewish communities, creating a delicate and unique thread that binds Jews living in different parts of the world. To celebrate the diversity created by the fact that we have been living around the world for centuries, observing traditions, colors, and tastes from cultures where we have lived during this time, but also spreading our fragrances and traditions and influencing the peoples around us, a day to recognize the importance of the Jewish community around the world. There is a midrash that tells us that Avraham Avinu, our forefather, was like a fragrant oil that was hidden until God told him, "Go." And Avraham walked from place to place. His fragrance became familiar throughout the world. As descendants of Avraham, we have been wandering and spreading the fragrance of Judaism, words of Torah, Jewish songs, tastes, and ways of living around the world. And during our journeys, we have also collected and developed different tastes and ways of being that make the Jewish peoplehood so incredibly plural. There is something very specific to being a Jew that connects with the idea of making journeys to ourselves and to other places. Our first forefather was a wandering person whose offspring became ka'afar ha'aretz, as dust from the earth, spread all over the globe, as predicted in this week's parashah and reflected in our so many traditions. Our calendar offers us several opportunities to this deep dive into our souls, like the counting of the Omer, Cheshbon HaNefesh during Elul, and the whole day of Yom Kippur. Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladetcha u'miveit avicha el ha'aretz asher areka. Go forth from your native land and from your father's house to the land that I will show you. This is the first sentence of this week's Torah portion. This happens in a moment of big change for Avraham. His dad has just died. The family is on a journey. he becomes the head of his family and makes a pact with God. Literally, Lech Lecha, the name of the parasha, can be translated as go to yourself. And this is exactly the moment that Abraham is living. He needs a change of place, but he also needs to journey to himself so that he can know this new person that he is becoming. So much so that by the end of this parasha, his name changes from Avram to Avraham, as well as his wife's name changes from Sarai to Sarah. As Jewish people, we were led to changes and migrations for so many times. We have been building our lives and our sacred spaces in the desert and in narrow places, inside our temples and around the world. And by spreading the fragrance of Judaism, as our forefather Abraham did, we discovered that a Jewish sacred space is built around Torah and around the Jewish people, wherever we are. The question about the land and sacred spaces for Jewish people is the focus of my study during this year, as I prepare for my final dissertation. My question is if the cloud, the online world, is a new space to be inhabited, as we are born in the desert, moved to the temples, and then spread around the world. Is Judaism bound to one place, to one land, or can we build different sacred spaces to live as Jews, to study and live the lessons of Torah? Israeli-American academic Daniel Boyarin suggests that genealogy and territorialism have been the problematic and necessary terms around which Jewish identity has revolved. In Jewish history, these terms are more obviously at odds with each other than in synergy. This allows a formulation of Jewish identity not as proud resting place, but as a perpetual, creative, diasporic tension. This tension can already be found in the Mishnah, in Tractate Ta'anit, where the sages set 2 separate days for beginning to recite the prayers for rain. The mentioning of rain begins on Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day of assembly at the end of Sukkot that has just passed, while the plea for rain is recited from the 7th day of Cheshvan, today. The purpose of this 2-stage process was to ensure that Jewish pilgrims from Babylon who had been visiting the land of Israel for Sukkot would be able to return home without having rain catch them during their journey. A clear connection between life in the land of Israel and different parts of the world, a connection that kept our people alive until today. Tonight, I invite you to celebrate your identity as a Jew in this wonderful world, to celebrate the plurality of Jewish peoplehood. Find the joy of being who you are, who we are, and be proud. I invite you to go to yourself, to go to your people, to your sacred spaces, and then, as our Torah portion establishes, your name will be great, and you shall be a blessing. Lech Lecha.